I wonder if when I do that, I'm disproving God. I don't know. Let's find out. Ahoy and welcome. Last week I provided 5 proofs of God. This week I'm going to disprove those proofs. Disprove those proofs? Disprove the proof. I'm confused. If you want to see last week's video with 5 proofs of God, then all you need to do is just click there, and that will then take you over to that one, and then you can come back here and watch this one. And then maybe at the end of this video there'll be a link to the next one, but there won't be. Oh, I'm all confused already. Now, it's very important to understand that in order to disprove something, first of all you must have a proof of it. So I can only say this is my criticism over here to this proof over here. I must prove it in order to disprove it. A lot of the times this is also put in terms of thesis. I create a thesis of which against there is an antithesis or antithesis or antithesis, however you want to say it. I don't know, depends where you live in the world. And then when you take both of these into consideration, you find a synthesis. And then by looking at that synthesis and posing that as a thesis, you can then find another antithesis and a further synthesis. This is the process by which a lot of philosophy works. So under that premise, we've learned a little bit about philosophy. Yeah. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and disprove last week's 5 proofs. Yeah. Number 1, the analogy problem. This is something that we as human beings all do very frequently, is that we find one situation over here which looks kind of similar to this situation over here, therefore we can draw similarities. But one of the inherent problems with doing this is that the analogy may be weak or only hold up to a certain extent. So for example, if we say there is a similarity between a watch and the human eye, in that both of them are very complicated things that solves a very specific problem. And we know that a watch was designed by us. And then we look at the human eye and we see the same thing. It's a very, very complicated, if you like, piece of machinery. Therefore, it must have been designed. But that analogy does not necessarily hold. It's important to point out when you're talking about analogy that of course you can find truth within analogy, but it is based upon the weakness of the analogy that it comes from. Therefore, it's possible to see that there may be an element of design in the human eye, but that does not necessarily equate to there being a designer. It just equates that it is in some way fit for purpose. Therefore, no God. Number 2, the lottery objection. The fine-tuning argument was very specific about looking at the world that we live in and seeing that things are so very, very well constituted to us being here that they must have been designed as such. The lottery principle simply points out that that doesn't hold up. Let's say I've got a lottery ticket. Lucky me, I've got a lottery ticket. And with my lottery ticket, I have a very, very, very small chance of winning. I'm gonna be rich. The probabilities could be in the millions to 1. Even though it's highly unlikely that I will win the lottery, it is also possible. And when I win the lottery, I'll buy a new bloody camera. High lack of probability against something does not mean impossible. I'm gonna be rich. But as much as things that are highly improbable are also possible, there are things that would be impossible. For example, I cannot naturally exist in space. It could not happen. I would not exist. If I found myself in space, I would be dead. It's not really that surprising that we find ourselves in the conditions where we can exist, because we wouldn't find ourselves anywhere else, would we? It would be impossible. Therefore, looking around and saying, oh, well, everything's so perfectly attuned for us being here specifically, and it's highly unlikely, and therefore it must have been designed as such, is really ignoring the fact that you couldn't be anywhere else, could you? It would be impossible. Therefore, no God. I'm gonna have so much money. Number 3, contradiction. When you look at the first cause argument and the fact that there's a cause and effect, cause and effect, and if we look back in time, something must have caused the very first effect to have happened. Therefore, God doesn't necessarily work because you're undoing the very idea of causality. In other words, you're contradicting yourself. Not a good idea. No. If the proof that you have says that causality is truth, then you must hold to that truth. What I mean is, who created God? Why is it that you presuppose that there must have been a first cause? The presupposition of the proof is that there must have been a first cause, when actually that goes against everything that causality is in itself. Why is it not that effects back in time have been being caused on for infinity? In other words, you're contradicting yourself. You don't want to do that. Number 4, existence is not a property. In the ontological argument, we learn about René Descartes, or at least a little bit about René Descartes. Well, today we have a different philosopher, Immanuel Kant, a German guy, and he said existence is not a property. And what he meant by this, when looking at the ontological argument, was that existence itself is not a property of beings. Let's look at fantasy things, for example, unicorns. And if you like unicorns, then maybe you like My Little Pony. It's for little girls. The bronies. I don't understand the bronies. I don't get it. It's for little girls. When I have a daughter, then I might watch My Little Pony. I bet you, I start watching My Little Pony. I doubt it. I don't know. And then I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is awesome. I can't believe I've never watched My Little Pony. Anyway, if we say unicorns have one horn, what we're actually saying is, if unicorns existed, then they would have one horn. By using the word unicorns, or man, or bachelors, or God, we're saying if they existed, then these other properties come in line with them. But using the word perfect along with the word being to describe something does not necessarily equate that that thing must exist. Number 5, religions cancel each other out. As I said in the last video, if you look at miracles, and I used the Catholic faith in the last video, you can see that many religions have claims on miracles. Of course, the problem here is that they all basically disprove each other, don't they? I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. Oh. For example, Buddhism has miracles assigned to it. So does Christianity. These two religions really are quite different to each other. So that being the case, how can they both use miracles as proof of their own religions? This is where we have problems. So to take a miracle as a proof of God isn't actually completely accurate. First of all, you're taking a miracle as a proof of a specific religion. And then when you do that, if you see the same miracle being performed by the other religion, to argue one as absolute proof, when another religion that significantly contradicts with your religion also has the same proof, you both cancel each other out. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Don't forget, if you enjoyed it, give it a like. If you want to get more God, religion, philosophy stuff, that's all coming up in the next few episodes of Thumbs Ahoys. So don't forget to subscribe to get some of that. I think the subscribe logo's up there if you're using a mobile device. By the way, guys, I'm also on Facebook, so do me a favour and give me a like on my page on Facebook as well. I'll love you forever. The info is below. And as always, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. If you're wanting more of the crazy vibe, then go ahead and hit subscribe.